What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as Ridemyavatar, and today we're going to be going over 5 upgraded green decks you can play definitely for this format, and I'm excited to present all of these. I know green is kind of underwhelming for some of the matchups. The biggest issue it has is against security control, and other decks it kind of can hold its own step and pace because it speeds up just enough to stop it in its tracks. Problem comes down to we're getting this weird format. So guys, let's dive into this video and let's see what we can do. So let's start the party off with none other than Eos Mon. Eos Mon got some amazing support in the form of win rate 60% and analog youth. Biggest problems in Eos Mons were 1, getting enough Eos Mons in the graveyard and in your hand, so that when you go into the big Eos Mon, you had enough resources to generate and force your opponent to lose out on stuff and have enough security checks to punish your opponent heavily. That was a huge thing, but Analog Youth fixes that problem massively. I'm not even joking. With Analog Youths, reveal the top 3 cards of the deck and then add 1 card from amongst your hand, trash your main card. I don't see why this card isn't played at full playsets in this deck, but there's not always room for everything in all decks, so making room for Analog Youth is huge. But when one of your level 5 or higher Digimon with Digi-Evolution cards is deleted, you may suspend this tamer. If you do gain 1 memory, hatch a Digi-Egg to empty the space in an empty space in the breeding area. That can rely so easily and be played because we play constant Eos Mons. As long as we keep 1 stack in the raising area and we set up, we should be pretty fine just to punish our opponent. What's really nasty is we do have Manoa being able to, while you have a tamer with an Eos Mon in play, your opponent's tamers do not unsuspend during their unsuspend step, which is huge because they have to get rid of our Eos Mon first. So, and what's really nice is it helps generate, so seeing Manoa is huge for us so that we can dig deeper for our Eos Mons and get everything balls a rolling. It is very powerful, everything like that. Now let's talk about win rate 60%. This card, as long as you have a tamer, you can use this option without meeting its color requirement. We already playing white, so we already meet its color requirement. But for 2 costs, basically making it so that our big Eos Mon is for 3 cost is huge, so that now we're not passing turn. That was like the biggest disappointment with Eos Mon, is that we had not enough ways of climbing the ceiling to get enough memory to generate for Eos Mon's win con. So now we have Eos Mon's win con, being able to now cheat in big Eos Mon for less and still be able to swing in the same turn. Now it is on par with its other siblings, decks that are just a lot faster, a lot stronger. Now it can keep up. It is no longer this sad deck that's trying to play catch up. Cutting Edge is huge. You may play a level 5 Eos Mon from your hand without paying its memory cost, then delete one of your opponent's DP with less or equal to this Digimon that was played with this effect. Sadly, we need the BT7's Eos Mon. I can't wait for that one. That one at least makes it so our other Eos Mons can kill off bigger threats, and that's like huge for us. I want this to be very effective, and we're playing like 13 Eos Mons. We're also playing Needle Spray because Needle Spray is fantastic, being able to suspend one of our opponent's Digimon. That might help it being able to swing into one of our opponent's Digimon, take it out, and now we don't have to worry about threats. Terriermon's in here to cancel out any deck that wants to spam out memory games. So if we can get a Terriermon on board, we can shut out Diaboromon, the Machinedramon, the Bonds decks, any deck that just blue deck that just wants to spam out. And then you also have, you know, Lilith Loop is still a fantastic deck in this format. Now we just have options. So being able to use Terriermon and get it out on the board and hold its position is huge for us. Next, we do have Wormmon. So reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 level 4 or 5 among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. Just basically, Wormmon is there to die, same as Morphomon. Reveal the top 5 cards of the deck, add 1 Manoa and 1 Eos Mon to hand. In its name among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. So deletion, deletion, that's all its goal is. And Argomon's in here so we can gain 1 memory through its restanding. And we also play Woodmon to add a little bit more blocker. And then Togemon, so when Digivolving, reveal 3 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 level 5 or higher among them from your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. The likelihood of this card whiffing is very slim because we play such a high level 5 count that we shouldn't have any issues. Then we also have Eos Mon. You may play 1 White Tamer with a play cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its memory cost. Then your opponent may play 1 Tamer from their hand without paying its memory cost. Huge. I mean, I don't mind giving our opponent the edge, but sometimes we just don't need that edge. I think this is great, and we're going to just see what it can do from here. And the Inheritable is really awesome. You may play 1 White Tamer card with a play cost 4 or less from your hand without paying its memory cost. Being able to have this when attacking effect is huge, especially if we can get an Analog Youth out. And if it perhaps dies with this Eos Mon here, congratulations, rest. You'll set up again pretty quickly, and this really helps us out. And then Big Mama Eos Mon is when Digivolving, for each Tamer you have and your opponent has in play, you may place 1 level 5 or lower Eos Mon from your trash to the bottom of the Digivolution cards in any order. If 2 or more cards were placed, delete 1 of your opponent's Digimon, and for every 3 Digivolution cards the Digimon has, gain security +1. So we can check 3 security pretty easily if we get like 6 underneath there. So let's see. This is Eos Mon. What do you guys think? Let me know. Now let's talk about it. Green Imperial Dramon. Green Imperial Dramon actually could be super playable, especially since it's starting to get that hang of the hybrids, and we have access to Ice Wall, we have access to Hammer Spark, we have access to Davis, and that could mean Davis is a +2 for us in this deck, which could be huge. And then we also have access to Ken. So Ken is really nice because when one of your green or blue Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, you may suspend this Tamer, gain 1 memory. Gaining us memory means we could easily go Ken, go to 0, double Ice Wall, pass turn. Now your opponent's Digimon now cost 4 to swing in, and your opponent is really not going to have that. So it's really great of a card. We play Minimon because while this Digimon is level 6 or higher, gain 1000 DP. Then we also play Monomon because when it attacks one of our opponent's Digimon, it gets 1000 DP. That's fine. We play Kokuwamon for one reason and one reason only, because it gives us an extra security check. With that extra security check, that means we're swinging for 2. We're a lot stronger. We're equal on par with OTKs that have Jesmon in. We just don't have a dedicated plan to counteract it. But that's fine. If we lose our stack, we can always punish our opponent with an Ice Wall, so they can only get 1 swing in. So that's how that's going to go. Then you have Terriermon, so your opponent can't gain memory except with Tamers. We can shut them down. And then Wormmon is reveal the top 3 cards, add 1 level 5 or 4 Digimon card among them to your hand, place the remaining cards at the bottom of the deck in any order. We are hoping to hit, our Stingmon, XVmons, and Pile Dramons. It really does help out. And then we have another EX tech. Palmon, on deletion, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 or less DP. This makes it so that if we can set this up right, if we have a Palmon just sitting out here and then we promote up our Imperial Dramon, Dragon Modes, or our Pile Dramon, and we swing in with the Palmon, it dies in the security. Then Palma, we will have Pile Dramon be able to swing in with no worries of blocker, depending on which one it is. Or we can just get rid of, because again, resting the 1 cost evolved blockers are huge. Might force our opponents to start changing up to 6Ks, and then we can just remove the Palmon and then put in something better. Now we have XVmon here from EX-1. Again, we've gone over this in the blue video, so definitely check that out if you want to see the other upgraded decks. We have jamming, and while this Digimon has Imperial Dramon in its name or free in its name traits, it gains jamming. That is huge because this one didn't have that. Now it does. So pay attention to that completely. Now we have Stingmon. So when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, gain 1 memory. So we can just set up more combo plays or just win cons. So that's our end goal. And then we have Stingmon from EX Collection, Piercing. And while this Digimon has Imperial Dramon in its name or free in its traits, it gains Piercing. So we're trying to give this Dragon Mode or this Dragon Mode Piercing because it's nasty. And then we're going to talk about it. We have Pile Dramon with Jamming. If this Digimon has Imperial Dramon in its name, unsuspend it. So that's huge. That makes our Dragon Mode here swing twice. This Dragon swing twice. And this one has a possibility of swinging up to 3 times if you attack in the right sequence. So pay attention to that. And then this Pile Dramon is really awesome because when Digivolving, if this Digimon has free in its traits, if this Digimon is in this Digimon's Digievolution cards, unsuspend this Digimon. So what you'll do is swing with the XVmon, Digivolve into this one. While this Digimon has Imperial Dramon in its name, it can't be blocked. So you get at least 2 attacks in with Jamming. And then you can just Digivolve right into this Imperial Dramon for Jamming. So then we'll just stand up and then swing again. And it can't be blocked. So that's 3 swings unblocked. Basically unimpeached for its damage. Or we can go right into this Imperial Dramon. So if this has free in its traits, if this Digimon Digievolution cards, unsuspend this Digimon, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. So you can get rid of a nasty little blocker if they're going to try it. And then for each color in this Digimon's Digievolution cards, it gains 1000 DP. He becomes a 13k, and that comes really clutch sometimes. And then we have Imperial Dramon Dragon Mode. So when one of your Imperial Dramon or Dynamon would Digivolve into this card, reduce its memory cost. It has innate Piercing. And then when this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon by battle and survives, unsuspend this Digimon. So the combo sequence, if you are to swing in with this Pile Dramon, is that you need to swing in to security first, then restand, and then swing into the Digimon for creating a 3 attack on Imperial Dramon Dragon Mode for the green version. That is how you will be able to achieve that. And I talked about Ice Wall. Hammer Spark's in here to gain that 1 memory, so we can just cheat in here. If they have the memory tamers, you're just kind of a little stuck a little bit, but that's fine. You'll just take it out later. Let's talk about this. This is pretty much insectoid. I'm pretty much going to call this insectoids. It's taking the idea behind Hercules Kabuterimon and just benefiting from it. We want to have Pierce. We want to use Kukuwamon's effect to gain an extra security check so that when we swing in, we're taking out multiples while we're taking out our opponent's stuff. It's just a great win con. We have Terrymon to slow down the game state. Bakumon is if your opponent has 2 or more suspended Digimon, gain 1 memory. That's huge. Then we have Woodmon being Woodmon. He's just going to block up for days. Kabuterimon being this Digimon gains 1000 DP for every suspended Digimon your opponent has. Then we have Gargomon for if this Digimon gains 1000 DP for each opponent's suspended Digimon. So that is huge. We're going to gain 1000 DP for each one. And then we're going to just swing in, and it might go down a little bit for damage output. But power is still going to be relevant when we're swinging in with Pierce, because we're going to take out Digimon while we're doing it. And we might lose 1 little boost, but we'll have enough to take out multiple securities. Armormon's being in here for that Digivolve onto our beautiful Mimi. Then we have Kowagamon. So start of turn, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon 3000 DP, which is awesome. And when this Digimon deletes one of your opponent's Digimon in battle, survives, one of your opponent's suspended Digimon doesn't unsuspend during their next phase. So while we're doing the Dimensional Scissor play, we are going to do Hercules Kabuterimon, Piercing, swing out, deal some major damage, and we're just going to make our opponent sad all day. Then we have Lilymon. So this is another great one. So when one of your opponent's Digimon becomes suspended, this Digimon gains security +1 for the turn. So if we can combo this with a Kokorimon, with a Lilymon, and a Kabuterimon in a Magic Christmas Land setting, and if this ever becomes reality, we're going to have 1, 2, and then beefy number with a Hercules Kabuterimon. We'll Digiburst out something if we have to rest it. We will lose the baby and we might have to lose the Gargomon if we feel like we can swing in with no issues. Actually, no. Sorry, let me rephrase that. We're not going to do that because this is huge. Oh, see, the problem comes down to is if you can rest something earlier and she's already there, you can always rest afterwards. So what you're going to do is get this line built up. Don't have to do that much, but you can also do it with this one. So when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon or two of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 or less DP. This can trigger Lilymon. He'll gain the security check. He'll swing in, and all those rested Digimon out there will gain him more power, and he'll swing in, taking out 1, 2, 3 security by himself, which is huge. And then we can also combo it with Dimensional Scissors if we needed to, which might help out at the end of the day, which we could win the game with. Then we have Mega Kabuterimon. This Digimon can digivolve into a Digimon with Insectoid or Ancient Insectoids in his traits in your hand for its de-evolution cost. When this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, gain 1 memory. That's kind of amazing for us because if we do it with Hercules Kabuterimon, at least we can cheat him in a little bit quicker on our opponent, especially if we wanted to swing in. It's kind of like a pseudo blitz, but we're just taking the swing and just changing it around, and that could help out too, because if we have Wagamon and then Kabuterimon with the Mega Kabuterimon, instantly this Hercules will come in with an extra security check and extra little bit of power, and then boom, swing in. This will cost us the 4, but if we're doing this like to digivolve in the middle of combat, it'll cost us 3, because if we were swinging into a rested Digimon, we instantly gain that memory, deal 2 damage, and our opponent is set back a bit. So that's kind of how you want to do that. And then Hercules Kabuterimon, I mentioned this earlier. This one's huge because it has Piercing and Digiburst, suspending one of your opponent's Digimon. Then we have Chaos Mon being with Piercing, and when Digivolving, unsuspend this Digimon, it can attack your opponent's Digimon with the following effect. You can attack unsuspended Digimon, which could be huge. Then we have Dimensional Scissors. One of your Digimon gains the following effect this turn. When this Digimon deletes an opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, unsuspend that Digimon. And then you keep going all to town. Then we have Blasted Disaster. So suspend all your opponent's Digimon, gain 1 memory for each of your opponent's suspended Digimon. Later in the game, as long as you're not dying in any way capacity, this could mean you rest the whole board and your opponent is screwed. And that's huge. And then we have win rate 60%, because we don't mind being cost for 0. Hercules Kabuterimon could be 0. And then we get Mega Kabuterimon out there for nothing. We can get Lilymon out there underneath it, and we're just swinging in with extra security checks, which is going to help us out immensely. So keep that in mind when you do that. And then we have Mimi being Mimi. So if your start a turn, set you to 3, but she helps out with aggression, because if you have a level 5 or higher Digimon in place, suspend this tamer, hatch an egg. And that's huge, because now you're going to fill up your zones and just get going and filling up the gas. And then we have Analog Youth to help us search a little bit. We don't want to trash too much, so that's why we're only playing like 1, but it's kind of amazing how this deck will operate. Hopefully, guys, you find this deck very interesting. We have Pinamon being if it attacks an opponent's Digimon, trigger draw 1. And then we have Minamon for when this attacks one of your opponent's Digimon, gain 1,000 DP. Nothing too crazy, nothing too overly exciting. Next, let's talk about it. We have OTK. Pretty much Digiburst style. So what we're doing is producing a longer game, and we just want to win through just pulling off stunts. So we have Yokomon being Yokomon. So if the Digimon is trashed due to activation, this Digimon Digiburst, gain 2,000 DP. This helps out with Grand Quagamon being able to swing in for multiple security checks, even if it didn't get jamming. An extra little bit of bump could actually mean a win for us. Pinomon's in here, so if it attacks an opponent's Digimon, draw a card. Argomon's in here just to be a 2-drop. Lalamon's in here to be Digiburst to help us keep Digivolving on top of our Yokomons or Pinamons and just getting some card advantage. Terriermon Assistant is to reveal the top card of your deck, add it to hand if it's a green Digimon, otherwise place it at the bottom of the deck. So our goal is not to hit the Chaosmon, Mimis, or Needle Spray. Palmon's in here to help with the OTK strats, put it under Grand Kuwagamon, swing, bum bum bum, bada bing bada boom, you win the game. You just get to pretty much clear out multiple securities with all that. Vegimon's in here to be that beautiful, beautiful baby for that 1 cost evolve. Then you have Ridemyavatar being, if this is trash to activation of Digiburst, gain 1 memory. We could play out a lot more with that. Arbormon's being in here to Digivolve on top of our beautiful Mimi. Then we have Kabuterimon being that 1 cost evolve blocker. Argomon being that Digizorption 3 to help us speed up into a Nidhogg board wipe if we need it. Then we have Blossomon being Digizorption 3. That's kind of huge. We just kind of go Nidhogg or Rafflesiamon when we need her. We have Lilamon Digiburst, suspend 1 of your opponent's Digimon. And if you have a Tamer in play, suspend 1 of your opponent's Digimon. Which is huge because if we have Mimi in play, congratulations, when swinging, you'll instantly force a rested state. We have Nidhogg in here for that board wipe potential that everybody loves to hate. So, suspend all your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 or less TP, then place all your opponent's suspended Digimon at the bottom of the owner's deck in any order. Rafflesiamon, Digiburst 2, all your Digimon gets plus 2,000 DP. That's kind of huge. But also, when your Digimon uses Digiburst, 1 of your opponent's Digimon can't attack or block until the opponent's next turn. So that means our Grand Kuwagamon, if we're Digibursting, that could shut off a blocker that could have been detrimental to us, because if Grand Kuwagamon can't hit those security checks, it's kind of useless. Argomon's in here for that Digizorption. So this card is really nasty and very underrated right now. This card is huge because when Digivolving, suspend all your opponent's Tamers. All turns, all your opponent's Tamers can't unsuspend. As you and many others know, how often have you just fought in a match and you got killed because they Digivolved on top of their Tamer? This helps you shut down that OTK strat that could happen. If we can suspend their Tamers, they're going to come in suspended and they lose because now they can't really get that final swing in, and that means we could possibly get a second turn. So keep that in mind. This Argomon's only going to get better when the next set comes out. Then we have Chaosmon is being in there for piercing and unsuspend the Digimon. Then it can attack your opponent's Digimon with this effect, allow it to attack an unsuspended Digimon. That's huge. And then Needle Spray is to rest stuff, and if it pops in security, you're happy. Mimi's in here for the same reason as Mimi as always. Set yourself to 3 and then can rush out your opponent with babies or sets you up for more draws. And let's talk about this one. This is Nidhogg Ancient Troymon. So it's a little bit different in the variant, but we're still using the Argomon as I mentioned in the last list. When Digivolving, suspend all your opponent's Tamers, and your opponent's Tamers do not unsuspend. This shuts off Analog Boy. This shuts down Mimi's in the mirror match. It can shut down all those beautiful pesky little Tamer tricks they want to do. Marcus is shut off because they can't gain the extra free memory. Now you're kind of gaining in some advantage yourself. You have Argomon being when the Digimon becomes unsuspended during your unsuspended phase, gain 1 memory, and then Pitamon to draw some cards. Goblimon, Argomon's just in there for that low cost 2 drops. Terriermon's in here to help shut off against blue because we need to slow them down ever so slightly. Palmon's in here to suspend 1 of your opponent's Digimon with 5,000 or less DP. That means if your opponent's building up quickly, you can always get the Palmon. If the Palmon's out, its goal is to die. But to spend their 5,000 or less DP, that means we could have a chance to win. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it is green, add it to your hand. Otherwise, place it at the bottom of the deck. Tenomon is still quite useful. Then we have Vegiemon and Ridemon. Both viable cards. They help out in their own ways. 1 cost evolve and their 4 cost plays. And then you do have Ridemon being a huge Digiburst fan for your Nidhogg play. Then you have Arbormon for when you may Digivolve this card into your hand for 1 green Tamer for the 3 cost. So that's huge because now Mimi is a viable target. but also if Ancient Troymon dies, you just have another out for yourself. And then you also have Petal Dramon, because when you may Digivolve this card from your hand onto one of your green tamers, it's a level 3, congratulations, but it also has Piercing, so he can be a little more threatening on board state. Couple Terramons, that 1 cost evolve blocker. Argomon's in here do pretty much Digisorption, but also has the nice inheritable to play one of your green Digimon rested. Kind of wish that we had a similar to Angelwomon, where it didn't come in that, but we understand they didn't want to make Digisorption broken. Cherrymon's a blocker. We have Blossomon being the Digisorption 3. Lalamon is in here for Digiburst 2, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. If you have a tamer in place, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Nidhogg is for board wipes. Argomon's to shut off tamers. This is to stop OTK decks, because as long as he's on board, you have to get rid of him first. And that could mean you're just building up the stack pretty quickly. Hidden Potential Discovers, just to be here for Hidden Potential's Discover plays. Mimi's in here for that multi-attacking turn pushes. If you get 2 Mimis out, you could raise, hatch. 3 Mimis is just ridiculous. If you get all 3, you're just winning the game at that point. You're just going too fast. And then Analog Youth is being Analog Youth. What do you think of these deck lists, boys and girls? I really enjoyed green. I feel like green is still struggling against security control matchups, but what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace!